There's something strangely romantic about airports. They're the start of something new, an end to something old. People cry here, laugh here, run here, wait here. But sometimes they miss things here too. Important things. This story begins with a man named Daniel. Not a celebrity, not a spy, not a secret agent running from his past. Just Daniel. 34. Marketing manager, lives in Chicago, addicted to caramel macchiatos and TED Talks. He was on his way to Los Angeles for what he called the most important weekend of his adult life. See, Daniel had been planning this trip for months. It wasn't just a business conference. It was the business conference, the one that could land him the partnership he'd worked nearly a decade for. His suitcase was perfectly packed. His slides were flawless. He had even practiced his handshake in the mirror. Yes, the handshake. But life, as we know, rarely respects our bullet points. Switched to Daniel in the back of a cab, checking his watch every few seconds. It started when his alarm didn't go off, or maybe it did, and he smacked snooze so hard it gave up on him. Either way, by the time he was up, he had 23 minutes to get dressed, grab his bag, and make it to O'Hare during peak rush hour. Spoiler, he didn't make it in 23 minutes. The cab driver, an old guy named Joe with a deep love for jazz and zero love for speed limits, chatted the whole ride. "What's the rush, my man? Life's short. Enjoy the ride?" Daniel, barely holding it together, smiled through clenched teeth. "Yeah, I'll enjoy it at LAX if I get there." By the time they pulled up to the terminal, Daniel had 12 minutes to check his bag, get through TSA, and sprint to gate C-19. It felt like a video game, with the stakes way too high and zero extra lives. But here's the thing about airports. They're not designed for last-minute heroes. TSA lines stretch like giant snakes, coiling with tired families and crying babies. And of course, Daniel forgot to take his laptop out of his bag. Cue the random search. He stood there in his socks, arms out, while a security officer gently patted him down like he was some kind of criminal mastermind. Behind him, the line moved. The minutes ticked. "Sir, do you have any liquids in this bag?" "No. I mean, just... Wait, is hair gel a liquid?" "Yes." "Then, yes." And just like that, he lost another 5 minutes and his expensive gel. When he finally made it past security, the terminal stretched out like a never-ending hallway of lost dreams and overpriced pretzels. Gate C-19 was at the very end. He ran. He ran like his whole future depended on it. Because it did. He could hear it, the announcement, like a countdown to disaster echoing across the terminal. Final boarding call for Flight 276 to Los Angeles. Gate C-19. Final boarding. Daniel pushed harder. His roller bag nearly tipped over as he sprinted past a coffee kiosk, dodged a toddler dragging a stuffed giraffe, and slid to a halt at the gate. But the door was closed. Behind the glass, the jet bridge was empty. The plane, his plane, was still there, still connected, still breathing warm air into the tunnel. But the gate agent, a young woman with a tired smile and a headset, shook her head before he even spoke. "I'm sorry, sir, the flight is closed." No, Daniel gasped, holding out his phone. It's still right there." "Look, it's right there. You haven't even started moving the bridge yet." She gave him that expression people use when they're about to disappoint you with corporate policies they didn't create. "I know. But boarding ended 5 minutes ago. Once the doors closed, it can't be reopened." Daniel stared at her. Like maybe, if he stared hard enough, she'd melt into compassion and wave him through. But she didn't. What if I left my kid on that plane? Do you have a child on that plane, sir? No. Then I'm sorry. He slumped into a chair like a balloon losing air, the adrenaline drained, and now the crash. The weight of it hit him all at once. He'd missed it. The conference, the handshake, the shot at everything he'd built his reputation for. In that moment, it felt like the world narrowed. The airport noise faded, the announcements muffled. All that remained was the dull hum of regret. It wasn't just about a flight. It was about how many little things had to go wrong for this one big thing to fall apart. A snoozed alarm, a chatty cab driver, a forgotten gel bottle. Like dominoes. He sat there, quiet, still catching his breath, still trying to pretend this didn't matter as much as it did. That's when she sat down next to him, a stranger. Mid-50s, warm eyes, reading a paperback with a cracked spine. She looked at him, tilted her head. "Missed your flight?" He nodded without looking up. "You know," she said, flipping a page, "every missed flight has a story. Some are tragedies, some just turn into better stories." He gave a half-hearted chuckle. "Mine's a career implosion with a side of heartbreak." She smiled softly. "Or maybe it's a reroute. Ever consider that?" Daniel didn't know how to respond, so he sat there, listening to the quiet wisdom of a woman who clearly missed flights before. Maybe not just the kind in airports. And then, as if on cue, his phone buzzed. "Let me know when you land. Big news on the partnership, we may need to talk." Daniel stared at it, his stomach sank. He could already imagine James's tone, neutral, clipped, businesslike. The kind of tone that says we're disappointed, but we won't say it outright. The worst kind. He tapped out a reply, then paused. What do you even say when your whole plan unravels? Just then, the woman beside him closed her book with a quiet snap. "You know," she said, "my daughter missed a flight once. To Paris. She cried for an hour, swore the universe hated her. But because she missed it, she ended up flying out the next day and sitting next to the man she eventually married." Daniel glanced at her. "You think the universe cares about that kind of stuff?" She shrugged. "I think the universe doesn't owe us explanations, but it does sometimes leave breadcrumbs. We just have to notice them." He smiled politely, but his mind was already drifting. He needed options. Fast. The airline app told him the next flight was in 4 hours. No first class, no upgrades, and a middle seat. Great. Still, he booked it. What choice did he have? As he stood up, the woman looked at him and said, "You'll be all right, you know." "I'm not sure that's true," Daniel said, honest for the first time all day. "This trip, it was everything. I needed this to work." "Sometimes we think we need the perfect moment," she said, "when what we really need is the moment that teaches us something." He didn't quite understand what she meant, not yet. Daniel walking the terminal, people watching, thinking, trying not to spiral. He ended up at a cafe, sipping a bitter coffee, watching a little kid feed bits of muffin to a tired dad who looked like he hadn't slept in days. And slowly, the chaos inside him settled. He started jotting ideas in his notebook. Not about the conference, but about his story. About how everything almost worked out. About what we do when our plans collapse. 3 hours later, Daniel boarded that next flight. No handshake, no perfect suit. Just him. A backpack. And a brain still buzzing. And you know what? He gave the best impromptu pitch of his life the next morning. Unshowered, late, but passionate, honest, raw. And somehow, it landed better than all the rehearsed ones. James pulled him aside after the presentation. "You were different today, less polished, more real. I liked it. Made me believe you actually care." Daniel blinked. "I do." "Well," James said with a smile, "let's talk partnership." And just like that, the missed flight stopped being a failure. It became the fork in the road he didn't see coming. We've all missed a flight in some form, an opportunity, a moment, a perfect plan that unraveled before our eyes. But maybe, just maybe, some missed flights are just better journeys in disguise.